Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. So this is a repeat video of the easy way to make the princess dart bustier. I'm sorry, a few people complained that they could not see the lines, the chalk lines on the previous one that I did. So then I'm doing this now with the paper and the marker, so it shows clearly. Now the measurements I'll be using the bust measurements, under bust, waist, shoulder, the half length, and so on and so forth. So I'll start with folding my zip. So for this particular method, for this easy way, we'll be cutting the back first. The first thing you are cutting is the back. So we all know we fold the zip allowance for the back. Zip allowance for the back, we fold that first. We fold the zip allowance for the back. Let me secure it with this so you can see the folds here. So the fabric itself will be folded in two. You can see I folded the fabric in two before folding the zip allowance. So the next thing I'll do is to measure my half length. Half length is 16. So I'll be chalking 17.5 as my bottom allowance and the shoulder allowance as well. So I'll be chalking from the bottom, that's from the end, to 17.5. So this is 17.5. So you can see the line. Now from this chalk line as well, I'll be measuring the bust point. It is from that bust point line that we are going to measure the bust. That's the round bust, the bust circumference. You know, it's usually divided by 4. This is from that line that we're going to measure it. So what I do in this case is to get my armhole. Most times I do bust the person's bust, you know, minus 2 inches, you know, then you divide it by 4. You get the person's bust divided by 4. Then sometimes I minus 2 inches, you know. It's like in this case now, the bust is 40 divided by 4 will give us 10. So minus 2 inches will give us 8 inches. So it is from this 8 inches line that I will measure the bust circumference. Then from there, I can now curve my armhole. So it depends on what works for you. What I want you to focus on here is just this easy method. If there's a method you've been using before to get your measurements, please go ahead and use that. Just focus on another method in which you can use to cut the princess cut bustier. So in some cases too, you can reduce, you can minus more than that. It depends on the person's bust, how big it is. So please, let's continue. So now in this case, I'm using 8 inches for the bust point. So that is 8 inches. I also chalk it. I'm chalking my 8 inches now. Now I'll also chalk under bust. That's shoulder to under bust. So for this measurement, shoulder to under bust is 13.5. So from there to I measure my 13.5. 13.5. So I've gotten all these measurements now. So what I'll do is to come to the shoulder. Come to the shoulder. I'll measure the shoulder. The shoulder is 15. And we know 15 divided by 2 gives us what? 7.5. So 7.5. But in this case now, you're supposed to, instead of putting the normal half-inch allowance, you will not put the normal half-inch allowance. You're going to put extra 1.5. Extra 1.5. So one there, you will see what we are using it for before we finish the video. Then the half-inch is for the normal joining allowance. You get me? So now this person's shoulder is 7.5, which is 15, divided by 2. So we are now going to make it, 9 inches. 7.5 plus 1.5 will make it 9 inches. So we'll chalk. Meanwhile, don't forget the normal one that we're supposed to use is 8 inches. So we can see it there now. Now we come to this to the bust point line. So you measure the bust divided by 4. You know, the person's bust is 40. So 40 divided by 4 will give us 10 inches. So that is 10 inches. So usually what I do is I give 1.5 allowance. So 10 inches plus 1.5 allowance will give us 11.5. So you chalk. Meanwhile, from this line now, if you like, you can use your French curve, and if you like, you can use your what's it called? You know, your hand. Me as a freehand tailor, all these things we use hand. You know, I use my hand. You understand? I use my hand to curve it. But if you want, you can also use your French curve to curve it. So now from this line now, you can see I have come to connect to the shoulder measurements. Don't forget, we added extra 1 inch. We're going to remove it later on. So this is our bust allowance, bust measurement. So now let's come to under bust measurement. So under bust here is 30. So 30 divided by 4 will give us 7.5. So usually I give 2.5 allowance at this point because of the dart and the normal allowance. So 1 inch for that allowance, then 1.5 as the normal allowance. So now if you are giving 2.5 to 7.5, that will give us 10 inches. So we chalk 10 inches. We connect it to the already chalked bust measurement. Now we come to the bottom here, the end line, and measure our waist. Don't forget, this is a measurement for half cut. Half cut that will still need to be joined to a peplum or something. So, or to a dress, anything. But I'm using half length to do this sample. So this is the bottom of the half length, which was 16 that we are using, but we used 17.5. So this is the waist part now. So the waist is 32 divided by 4 will give us 8 inches. So 8 inches plus the 2.5 that we also give for that as well. So it will give us 10.5. So we chalk 10.5, then connect it to this line as well. Connect. So we see that we are done with that. Now the next thing we do is to get our dart measurements. So now for that, most of us we use, some of us use 3 inches, 4 inches, 4.5, 5, 6 inches, as much as 6 inches, depending on the measurement we are working with, depending on the person's measurement, the size, the person's size. So in this case now, I'll be using 3.5 for the dart measurement. So this is the dart measurement. 3.5. So this is 3.5. I'm chalking 3.5 now. So I'm going to connect this 3.5. Let me chalk 3.5 here as well, so that it will be easy to trace. So this is another 3.5. Then the 3.5. So I'm going to connect it on a straight line. So that is our dart measurement. So now you will come to the shoulder here, to the shoulder, like around the armhole, starting from the shoulder to the armhole, and measure 5 inches. Now this one too depends on the person's bust size. It depends on the person's bust size and the person's height. You could use as much as 6 inches, 5.5, but in this case I'm using 5 inches. So 5 inches now. So what you will do is from here you connect, connect like this. You connect to the armpit. Can you see? This is our bust. Sorry, don't forget, this is the dart line. you know, we stopped at the bust point, then connect to the armhole. So that is pretty much it. So the next thing is for you to come and cut your neckline. You know, whatever neckline you want to use, you come now and cut it. Whatever you want to use, whatever kind of neck you want to use, you cut it. But let's just continue with this video. So I may not bother to cut the neckline. So sorry, don't also forget there's going to be the normal, you know, shoulder slope. You know, in this case too, you know, everyone with their own method. Just do what works for you, as long as your clients are not complaining. So in this case too, sometimes I use ½ inch. I just minus ½ inch, and sometimes 1 inch. It depends on how bent the person's shoulder is. You know, some people have broad shoulder that is straight, some people have this kind of bending shoulder, so it depends. That is what will determine what you are going to minus. You know, so you could do 1 inch or ½ inch. So in this case now, I'll just do ½ inch. So you see, that's the shoulder slope. So I'll go ahead to cut now. So I'll cut it now. Okay, let me just leave the video running. See. Can you see? So I'm tracing this chalk. I'm sorry, the marker. Okay, so I'm done cutting now. You can see this is our this is the back zip allowance part, and this is the side. So we are still going to open up this place, you know, the zip allowance. We open it up for the zip. You see, open up the zip allowance and even notch the bottom too. So like I said, you know, it all depends on the kind of neckline you want to do. So but in this case, let me just do 4 inches width, and then probably should we do V back? Okay, yeah, let's do low back. Let's do low back, or let's just do normal height. So 2 inches for the depth. You know, I use 4 inches for the width, 2 inches for the depth. So next thing now is to cut the front part, which is the most important. We cut the front part, which is the most important in this our class. So now what you will just do is to fold the fabric again. You can see it's folded into two. So I just place the front and the back, you know, the center part of the back. I place it on the fabric, on the paper, then place these two, you know, so you can see. So I place and trace, place and trace and cut out. So you can see I'm tracing it out now. I'm tracing it out, you know, the front part. I'm tracing it out. Notch the center. So you can see I've traced it out now to cut the center. Now this is the neckline. You also cut whatever you want for the neckline. This is just to, you know, for the purpose of cutting the neckline. No, you know, so whatever you want to use, So place that aside, and then the front part, you know, the side part, you can see it is placed on the fabric now. So what you will just do is, you know, trace it out as well at the bottom. You trace it out first at the bottom, so you can just do away with the excesses, like the, you know. So you trace it out. The next thing is, now remember, this is our bust line. This is our under bust, bust line, under bust. So what you just do is to trace, you know, this is your bust line, this is our under bust. So now remember, the bust shape will start from under bust. So all you need to do is to form a kind of P shape, you know, a kind of P shape. Meanwhile, depending on the person's bust size, you could either give 2 inches, 1.5, or 2.5 for this part, you know. I mean the extra, the excess that will be here. You could either give 2 inches, 1.5, or 2.5. I'm using 1.5 in this case. That's what we have there, and 1.5 is perfect for a bust 40. So you know, you can now be giving maybe 2.5 for a bust 44, bust 46, bust 50, 2.5, you know, like that, depending on the bust size. You could even use as small as 1 inch, you know, so it's not too looking fakey, you understand, looking like it's not, you know, it's not normal, like not fitting the bust. So you could use as small as 1 inch if the person's bust is just, you know, a small cup size, you understand. So now from the armpits, from the armhole, you know, you just, you know, trace it out, then come to the bust point and give it that P shape, you know, P shape to the bust point. Do you understand? You know, from the here now to the bust point, you give it that P shape. You know, so you trace it out. Meanwhile, you are going to cut it straight from the waist to the under bust. You trace it straight. Then when you get here, you trace your P shape. Then trace it like that to the armpit. Then you finish up with the sides. Finish up with the armhole. And side. So now there's something we ought to have done, you know, from the beginning that we did not do. You know, sorry, from when we finished cutting the back, we would have just traced it off, but I did not. So we're going to trace it off now. Remember, we added extra 1 inch at the beginning. Do you remember? We added extra 1 inch at the beginning. So we are going to place everything now. You know, we're supposed to start with, we're supposed to have done it. I am supposed to have done that with the back, but I didn't do it. So what we'll do is we are placing this front and back on each other now. Then we'll now place this the sides. Sorry, I'm being so we are going to place it, you know, place them now. You know, you place as if, you know, the normal way now. You know, by the time you join, you know, by the time you join this, you place it as if you have joined it. You know, the normal 1/2 inch that we will use to join the darts, you know, and join here around, you know, to the armhole. You know, the normal joining. I hope you can see me clearly. You've placed them on each other now. So the normal joining. So you can see that we have the excess already. The excess, you know, the extra 1 inch that we gave. If we didn't give it 1 inch, the point of giving this 1 inch is so that by the time we join, it will meet here. If we did not put the joining, just imagine we did not put, just imagine we didn't put the 1 inch. This is where our joining will come and stay, you know, and it will shorten the measurement of the shoulder. So that is the essence of the 1 inch, so that by the time you join the clothes and you know, join them on each other, it will just end here. you have the excess, so you just trim off the excess. So you trim it off. You see that you are back at your normal measurements. Do you understand? So you are back at your normal measurements, you see. So that is pretty much it with the, so let me quickly run through it again. So the first thing is to fold your fabric, fold the zip allowance, get your half length, measure out your necessary measurements. Remember to add 1.5 inch to your shoulder measurement. When you are done chalking everything, once you've chalk your what's it called, your dart allowance, just cut it off, open it up here, and then when you are done opening it up, immediately before you cut the front, just place this, place it on each other like this, as if you have joined it. Place it with the normal measurement that you use to join, which is 1/2 inch. So it will now give you the excess of 1 inch by this side, so you just trim it off. So you can just do that before cutting the front. And if you do not remember, like me, you can come back and still cut it off, you understand, when you are done with both front and back. So you can see now we are done. So this is the front, this is the front, this is the front, the one with the breast shape, and this is the back. So that is all with princess cuts. If I made any mistake, please pardon me. We are just I'm a beginner in terms of YouTube videos, so please, in case there was any error, maybe just pardon me. But I hope you can see it very well now compared with the other one. Please subscribe to my channel. Subscribe, help us to grow so that we can continue to make videos like this. Thank you very much. Bye.